Good afternoon. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and just like to welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody, and I hope everybody's doing safe and surviving all this mess we're in as far as the COVID. I'm Lauren Smith. I'm the Electric Utility Director for the Stillwater Electric Utility. And if you don't mind, I would like to go around and just have an introduction from all the task force members, and so I can put a name with a face and all that good stuff. So up here to my left, I've got Justin. So I'll start with Justin.
Yep. So you know me, but the rest of the group, my name is Justin Mingus, and I work with the Stillwater Chamber. But happy to be here, bud.
Thank you. And I got Madeline to my right.
Hi, Madeline Goddard. I'm a retired civil engineer.
Nice to meet you. Robin.
Robin Cornwell. I have a master's in public affairs and a background in environmental policy, and I worked with the local Ready for 100 group to encourage the city of Stillwater to commit to transition to 100% clean and renewable energy.
All right, very nice to meet you.
Same here.
Yeah, and I've got Deanna now.
Yeah, Deanna Homer and Carol Preston and I were the ones who got Ready for 100 started and linked it to the League of Women Voters, which we still hope to keep it linked to. And I'm really happy to be part of this task force.
Nice, great to have you. I've got next, I've got Patty and Norman and Melissa, it looks like. All right, and I have Henri.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Henri Wahara. I'm a native Stillwater resident from many years ago. I moved back from California, from Silicon Valley. I used to run some high-tech computer companies. I have an engineering and computer science background from Stanford, from Yale, and UC Berkeley. And I have a strong interest in renewable energy. I've been studying it for the past, I'd say decade, starting with wind energy and then now with solar and battery energy storage. And I'm interested in helping the community out and trying to get us moving toward a more clean, renewable energy environment. So looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you. Nice to see you again. I've got Alan.
Yes, my name's Alan Tree. I am a professor of chemical engineering here at OSU. My family has lived here for just over 30 years. And if I were an electrical engineer, you would see me. But since my background's chemical, I can't quite get this camera to work. But I'm delighted to be here and to be involved.
Excellent. Nice to meet you and have you.
Thank you.
I have a City of Stillwater. I don't know if that may be our folks.
Understanding is that GAP has open estimates and so on.
Lauren, that city is just our host site.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, it's great to meet all you. We wanted to get together today. We're going to have several presentations and stuff coming up in the next month or two that really hit home with what we've got going, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to educate and all understand. I think it's going to take all of us, truly understanding what all it takes to make these great things happen, to make great decisions. So we're getting ready to start here next Monday night. Over the last, I want to say the last year, GRDA has been working to put together a program that would allow us to have a community solar in our community. We are a full requirements customer of Grand River Dam Authority, and by that we're required to purchase all of our power and energy from GRDA. And so They have heard our concerns and our needs and our community needs, and not just us, but their other municipalities. And so they have put together a program. They formed a DG task force that Stillwater was a part of, I was a part of, and other municipalities to kind of put this program together and discuss what could be done. And so Monday night, Ash Mayfield, who is truly an expert in the field, is going to present GRDA's offering and what they're proposing, and really get down in the weeds on what they're talking about. But at the highest level, again, it's them setting the stage to allow us to have community solar. And the idea would be that there'd be about 8 stages to the process. And the first 6 are really exploratory in their nature. That is, the first, they would ask all their communities or member communities, are you interested? How much of a solar field can you put in? What are you interested in? Then they would aggregate all of those per economy of scale to go out to bid and find a developer that would be willing to put all these in, then negotiate the price. And there's several stages along the way, but that would allow us to get to this stage down the road where we actually have to commit. So there's no commitment for a period of time here until they do all the legwork. And then when we get down to the actual nuts and bolts of what this thing's really going to cost, we've worked that out. That's when we would go to the trustees and make a recommendation. And that's what we want the task force input on, and we all work together to come up with this recommendation. Yes, ma'am. Robin, I see a hand.
Yeah, thanks. So it would be a matter of GRDA looking for one developer to do a series of solar developments.
Yes, ma'am. Across the state, across all their customer base. And so like all their municipal customers that are interested, and most are, that I don't believe there weren't any that weren't. So this would be a big aggregate total of all those. Yeah, so it would be one developer. And the developer at the end of the day would own, operate, and maintain the facilities. We would merely have to provide land and an interconnection to our distribution system somewhere. And so we've identified a place out at the Energy Center. It was part of the packet that was sent to you earlier that kind of showed you the report and our idea of land out here at the Energy Center, where we have about 12 acres. And interestingly enough, solar, approximately about 6 acres per megawatt. And so we feel like we have 12 acres, and that sounds like about 2 megawatts, but all of the land's not available out here. We've got some easements for some gas lines and stuff that we'd have to kind of dodge around. So probably thinking about 1.5 megawatts, which is a good chunk of solar. While GRDA, and so what we're going to ask for Monday night is merely for the trustees to let us start this exploratory process, knowing that we're not committed until this stage 6 or 7 of the process, so that we can bring them a recommendation. And while GRDA is doing their legwork, us as a task force and electric utility, we want to kind of run in parallel and start putting together programs. What does the program look like? Do we have enough interest to fully subscribe the panels? All these details that we need to work out on our end can be running in parallel. So by the time we get to that recommendation point, we're at the same place, and we can all go, look, we've done our due diligence, we've got this research, and really to make a quality recommendation. And so the starting point is Monday night. Again, starting Monday, and then several meetings down the line through the next couple months are going to be a lot of great information for this task force and the community to hear. And so to help educate ourselves. And that's going to be my goal and your goal, to educate me. I'll educate you, and we'll come together and be very educated. So,
Lauren,
yes, ma'am.
I just might interrupt 1 minute. Christine Waits has joined us.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
And then Mike and Sharon Shanahan are on. They can see and hear us. They just cannot talk to us.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate that. Christine, did you want to chime in and introduce yourself? We had some introductions earlier.
Oh, I have to do it all by myself. Really nice, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm Christine Waits. I'm the late one.
That's all
Won't
right.
happen in the future.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And we're glad you're here.
Thank you. I got interested to get involved with this panel and this task force because I personally was looking at putting solar at our home and on our businesses. So that's what got me excited about making some changes.
Excellent. Excellent. We're glad to have you and the folks that we can't hear from. We will look forward to meeting you at a future meeting. Is there any other questions on the GRDA? Let me back up just a second because there's one other thought I want to get out here. Well, here down the line here, I've got some meetings lined up. But one of the key things we want to do, especially on this community solar, and as we develop the program, we've hired LM Vetter, a rate consultant, to guide us in what does a program look like? What do other programs look like? We need options. We need to vet these options through all of us. And on the 3rd of December, we've scheduled a public, we don't know if it's going to be virtual. At this time, it appears it's going to be in person, but we're trying to see if that can change. But a public meeting to gather input on ideas, discussion about how rates are designed, what needs to happen for the SUA to be made whole, what needs to be happen for the customer to feel good, all these things. And so I think it's going to be a great opportunity to, again, to educate and get feedback from the public on what this program should look like. I know Henri has had some great ideas. We have talked many times in the past, or at least several, and he has presented some great ideas that we want to run by and make sure that if they work as a program. So it's that kind of public input that we're looking for. And so, Robin, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I sorry, if you weren't finished, you can continue, but I was just going to ask, do we have an idea about how many customers would have to commit to, make it a worthwhile, make the community solar a worthwhile project?
Yes, ma'am. So we went
based on how much space is available.
Yes, ma'am. So we crunched some rough numbers and just a rough estimate. This was at 2 megawatts and we were talking that. It was like 360 customers out of 21,500 would have to commit to, if it was 100%, if you were going to say, I'm getting 100% of my energy from this farm, it would be about 360, 350, 360. Now, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but Henri had a great idea about overselling it. And you wouldn't get all your power, but you get a percentage. That way you ensure that there were multiple, there was not going to be a lack or a shortfall of subscribers. And I don't want to speak for Henri, but I believe that was your thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could add another point to that is, the way to do rate setting, let's just assume there's two extremes. One extreme is you can only find one customer that takes that takes the entire piece of the solar farm, and so everyone else in the city doesn't have to pay any extra premium for putting in the solar farm because you have one customer that's willing to take the whole thing at the price that they're asking. Okay, and then the other extreme is you have everyone in the city sign up. Okay, in which case any of the premium that the solar farm is costing gets distributed across all the customers, and then each customer really gets hit by very little. In fact, Lauren, if you tell me what is the annual power consumption of all our customers, and then you divide that into the annual power output of that solar farm, you're probably talking like very small percent of the total power consumption in the city. So it really won't take a lot of customers before we're able to start being able to make the concept of putting in a solar farm almost trivial. It won't hurt. Most customers won't even feel it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that overselling concept is to try to find as many customers, regardless of whether they want 1% or 10% or 100% their power consumption through solar, and you just divvy it up. Once you add all those up, then you divide it up into that pool of people that want it. So.
Yeah, very good point. And I want to add to your point as well as your idea as well. That's based on residential usage. We're talking about throwing commercial in there, and that, you know, that just adds more to what Henri's saying. So
I really think we can find a lot of commercial people that would be interested. Yeah. Like Walmart is definitely a type of customer that's looking for renewable sources for their environmental programs. So I think we'll find some customers that would be very interested in helping out or participating.
Absolutely. So those are great points, and I really look forward to deep diving into that as we keep moving on down the road. And when we get to that point, and to speak of GRDA, how long it's going to take them to get to their point, they're estimating like 6 to 8 months. So we have some time here to really flesh everything out and come back with a great recommendation. So,
Lauren, I've got a couple questions if that's all right.
Right, go ahead.
So what you described, it sounds like the developer that's going to develop the farm will be the owner of the facility and will get the capacity payments and put it in the power pool, the whole deal. Similar in the way that the city of Stillwater owns our energy center, gets the capacity payments, it's in the Southwest Power Pool, and they tell you when to turn it on. Is that what we're saying? So the SUA won't own the solar field?
Correct. We will not own or maintain or operate it. They will operate it. Really, there's a big difference in the sense that I think at the end of the day, their offering is going to be for the next 20 years. Now, this will require us to be in a long-term PPA, right? Purchase power agreement. So at the end of the day, we're going to sell you a kilowatt hour for 5 cents. Every kilowatt hour until the end of the project, you know, or is there degradation? There's a lot of other details, but to us, it'll look like just a cost per kilowatt hour, where the solar farm, yeah, he'll be playing it into the SPP mark. You know, I'm sure he'll be doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know exactly what goes on that end. But
is there a reason you guys wanted to structure it that way instead of like the power plant, or is that a GRDA that came to you and said this is what we want?
It's more of risk, right? I mean, operating and maintaining a solar farm and the risk inherent with you being the purchaser of, or the owner and the buyer inner of solar, and then you got to maintain it. You know, if you have a developer, you get to say, okay, the panels can't degrade more than X% over the life of the project. And so if hail hits one and breaks it, you got to come fix it. If this or that, I think it's a lot more simpler and clean cut that way.
Okay. So then a follow-up to that, would this developer be willing to do more than the 1.5 megawatts on the 12 acres, 10 acres that you have? Meaning if there's a citizen in the community that says, hey man, I'm really involved in this, I want to be a part of it, I have 20 acres, I want to put it land lease for, you know, $1 a square foot or something like that, or free if they're so kind.
So that's a great question. Just on the city side, we're really limited to the land that we have available, right? So we did a pretty exhaustive search around town to say where is some open land the city could use, and this is what we ended up with being about the best. And so as far as I'll have to inquire about an individual customer. I know with the new DG policy that GRDA's come up with, it will allow for, it certainly allows for customer-owned generation. And the next topic we're going to talk about is our DG rate, which we're going to have to establish some parameters that line up with GRDA's new tariff, so that we can figure out how to navigate that. So it's a great question. I think it's one we'll have to get a little more information on.
Okay.
Any other questions on that topic? Again, we'll have plenty of meetings to keep deep diving into all this, but just as far as for Monday night.
I recall that Ash had mentioned that they do have an issue with, like, if the solar farm or the megawatt capacity, if it exceeds a certain amount, they get sort of into more legalese and trying to hook it up to the power pool, to the grid.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's actually better to not exceed a certain capacity to avoid all these connection costs or legal paperwork that needs to be filled out. And actually delays actually being able to hook it up to the grid.
Yeah.
So that's one sort of thing that keeps us from putting in a huge solar farm, but we're not even close to that with 1.5 or 2 megawatts.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
are those regulatory limits or?
It's a Southwest Power Pool requirement. There's, and FERC, it's a FERC thing too.
Yeah. So, yeah, once you reach a certain level, SPP has to do studies on their system to make sure that that their system can handle it, and what happens if it goes away all of a sudden, what's going to back it up, and all those type of things. So, yeah, for sure. And I will offer too, once we get deep and diving into these subjects, we can bring Ash in, and we can bring experts in to really, get everybody's questions answered. Henri has had he's done his homework because he's already had a lot of these conversations. So he knows the type of the quality of information we can bring. I hope, Henri, I hope it's been
well, I'm
beneficial.
trying to do my best here.
Yeah. So. Okay.
So I know we're going to go over the rate study or the rate discussion around, if I wanted to put panels and whether I get wholesale or retail payback, which GRDA and everybody wants me to get wholesale. But if we have a commercial client or customer that does come in, Lauren, on some of the projects you and I have worked on, and says, look, I'll carve out 10 acres and donate 10 acres to the city of Stillwater as a part of this process, would that be trying to find a way to get beyond? And I understand the regulatory power pool study when you go over a certain megawatt, but I'm just thinking about how we expand this for other folks down the road.
Right. And so really in GRDA's offering, they're not really putting a size limit on it per se. They're putting on a size limit where it says anything over 1,000 kW or something like that requires a make whole payment to be made to GRDA, right? Because now you're pulling energy off their system that they would normally be providing, but they have to pay the fixed cost to get us the infrastructure here to supply us if it wasn't here. And so I think their only limitation at this point, they're not afraid to do an SPP study or anything like that. It's just, it's cost on the developer. It's more added steps to make things happen. So that's not out of the question, or it's just another hoop to jump through, I guess. But at the end of the day, if it reaches a certain level, they want to be made whole, and the SUA will have to make them whole. And, that'll have to be a part of the SUA program. If you get over this certain size, you have, this kind of funnels down and we're all made whole. So, but it's not limiting anybody from, especially a big industry, to say, like Armstrong said out here, I got 30 acres sitting out here. I could put stuff on if I want, stuff like that.
So the make whole issue is because they're having a developer do it, right? I mean, if it was their own facility, right? I mean, they'd be getting the wholesale rate back to you guys. I mean, I get, hey, there's a fixed cost to put in a 345 whatever kV transmission line from their power plant to here. But it sounds like if there's a methodology around how we bring on more solar in the future, they can plan for, okay, well, then maybe we don't have to upgrade that transmission line because we're going to put a new facility in that community. And at some point that community, I mean, they can build that offset, that make whole issue. I don't know. It seems like by having a third party be the developer kind of, I don't know, muddies that a little bit, as opposed to if it was a facility that was in their fleet that they were getting some sort of, payment from.
But really it trickles down even deeper. I mean, if our residential customers put in over a certain amount and it starts drawing down the demand that GRDA has built into their rates to provide us power at these certain rates, then we would have to make whole payment as well. And so it's really a combination of all of the things that we do on this side of the meter that reduce what they've built out to serve us. They would have to recoup that in one way, either a make whole payment or raise our wholesale rates.
It always seems, you guys know better than I am, but one way to solve that problem is everybody puts panels on their roof, just have GRDA own that mini power plant on that person's roof, and it's in their capacity, and that homeowner just gets a capacity payment as opposed to, 5 cents a kilowatt hour in payment.
Yeah, I don't think GRDA wants to reach that far in. for
No, that's
control.
clear.
But that's certainly, you know, you're getting to a level now as deep that it would probably be a conversation we could have with GRDA and see and get their thoughts on it. But I'm sure they don't want to reach past their meters to into our business.
That's because Ash isn't a very fun attorney.
Yeah, right.
I was wondering if I could interrupt just to add that this is skipping to the next section that distributed the DG section, but I mean, basically GRDA sort of has decided that residential solar up to 1 megawatt capacity, they won't charge any, they won't do a make use or make up payment.
Right.
Whereas once you exceed that 1 megawatt of residential solar, then they start to have a problem. So for some reason, that 1 megawatt threshold seems to be an issue. I'm not really sure why they decided on 1 megawatt, but
I can elaborate on that a little bit. And you're exactly right. And a megawatt's a lot, right? And we've got 11 customers and 60 kW worth of capacity. So there's a lot of room there. That number was put there to be a number. I don't want to call it arbitrary, but if they say, and it says it at the bottom, if we were ever to get close to that number, any of their communities, that we would reevaluate if that number could go up. They didn't want to leave it just wide open, but they did put a number in there that says, if you get close to this, we need to have another conversation, similar to the DG policy that they enacted several years back, right? And when we got to the point where, hey, times have changed, we need to look at this again, just like what we're doing. So I hope that answers your question, Andre.
Well, like a typical residential customer, probably they would put in something like a 5 kW or a 7.5 kW amount of solar panels. And so if you divide that into the 1 megawatt, we're talking anywhere from 133 to 200 residential customers before you hit that limit. And that actually doesn't sound like very many to me, but anyway. If we changed our rate policy, I mean, right now we're discouraging people from putting in solar, but I'm sure we'll get into that in the next section.
Yeah. So with that, let's move on to the next item, and that is item B. And so on the 26th of October, shortly after the next week after the GRDA meeting, we're going to take a look at the cost of service study that we performed earlier this year, that basically said on the electric side that they didn't recommend a rate increase, but they recommended that we align our rates with what is actually fixed cost and what is variable cost. And so the recommendation is to more align those rates with the fixed and variable costs. And so we'll be presenting on that and discussing a little bit about options, and then there will be no action taken. We'll just be providing more information. So again, it'll be a good time to hear. Melissa or Norman, do you have any more to add on that one? Or, oh yeah, you're.
So, one of the things that we've looked at is our bill. Our bill, in the way that the charges are set forth in our electric bill, are pretty confusing. It's, to use a different example, my gas bill, my home is all electric with the exception of heat. And so for about 6 or 7 months a year, I don't use any natural gas. And it's clear in that bill that ONG says that it costs $33, I think it's $33.45 for the privilege of having that gas there and available. So that's something that we are taking a look at this point in relation to the entirety of this rate issue, is to more clearly delineate exactly what the charges are.
So, sorry, we're not quite to that point. Are you talking about DG?
Yeah, I thought we'd moved on. I apologize.
But this what we were talking about on the 26th. We're going to talk about the cost of service study. And was there anything you guys wanted to add about? Really, we're just going to be discussing about the fixed cost and the variable cost and realigning those more to get to their true point.
Right, and those fixed costs are some of that same issue that I was just discussing.
Okay. Are there any questions on that? And we'll move down to the DG part.
Well, I have a comment on that. Our current bill, obviously, it looks like the customer service cost, which is part of that fixed cost, it doesn't cover near all the fixed costs that you guys are incurring. So you're folding it into the variable cost. And so I guess what you're saying is you're going to try to extract some of that out and maybe adjust the customer service charge to increase that and make the variable charge more like the fuel cost or whatever, plus the transmission cost. I don't know.
Yes, sir. 100% correct.
That is correct.
The only issue there then is it's somewhat regressive, or it hurts people that don't use a lot, or that may be poor or can't afford the, I don't know. It seems somewhat regressive, or it can be. So that's just my comment. Personally, I think the fixed cost needs to be more accurately reflect what you guys are incurring, so that we can talk about the DG part more accurately.
Noted.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the overview of the Stillwater Utilities Authority November 2nd meeting scheduled for Ellen Vedder to discuss the 2020 distributed generation tariff review and presentation. And so we have, we've heard from the public, we've heard from our customers about issues that they found with the rate that we created back in 2018. Lisa, during that presentation, Lisa Vedder is going to give an overview of the rate and basic rate design and ideas of how others do it. And this is just general information about that. A more detailed meeting, a public meeting, will be held on the 12th, where, as I mentioned, the public will be able to provide input and discuss options and also be educated. And so I think that's where that discussion will be. Everybody will have opportunity to provide information and feedback and see what can be done there to help those customers. Any questions or concerns about that?
Did you get an idea of what the fixed cost really is?
Fixed costs for
the electrical service?
It's in the cost of service study. I don't want to be quoted, but I think it was like 2601 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was 20 something. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Does that include that customer service charge already folded in?
That will be folded into that, yes.
Or does it add on top of that?
I'm not 100% sure. Okay. I believe it's folded in.
In that case, it's not too bad.
So.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other questions about that, establish a meeting schedule. And I wanted to get you some input. What does the task force think about this time, this meeting time during the day? Does this work for everybody? This 3 o'clock, 3:15-ish? I see one head shaking and a bunch of nods.
I prefer it later, but this is important to me, so I'll make myself available, whatever everyone decides. But
is the proposal to always meet on a Monday?
No, again, that's for open discussion today. I've got a list of weeks that I think would be good to have meetings. These are only suggestions, and I just put the week of. So it could be, I would say, any day, Monday through Thursday. So I think it's really up in the air for us to decide. We're just throwing out ideas here.
I personally would prefer a Tuesday or a Thursday, but that's just one vote.
And I would prefer if the meetings could start like at 4, for example, instead of 3:15.
Okay.
And
So-
Monday afternoons are also not good for me. Monday afternoons are.
So if we could find a Tuesday or a Thursday at 4 during some weeks that we have identified here, would that work?
That'd work great for me.
That'd be fine for me.
I see Madeline nodding, Deanna nodding.
Why don't
Christine?
we poll each member that's here? Because I see some shaking of nose.
As you can tell by my background, I always have kids this time of day. So I just have to find a quiet space, which is probably my next door neighbor's house. But we'll make it work. Like Henri said, this is an important thing to me. So you fit it into your schedule where you can.
Patty, how would I get out that list of weeks that, or no, I guess if it was Tuesday or Thursday of those weeks, how would we go about doing that publicly?
If you decide on a day and time, then I can email the meeting dates from those weeks you put it out.
Okay, I'll do that. And then if everybody just reply and say works for me, then we'll set it.
Well, they have to vote to set it.
Oh, okay.
And we
So,
can bring it back to the next meeting.
okay. That works for me.
Lauren has weeks from November through March. So we're looking at that time frame, length of time. So Justin, is there a day that works better for you?
No, I'm similar to Christine, right? So I'm teaching reading and math in the afternoons and doing some chamber meetings along the way. So we'll just set a schedule and I'll carve out time. It's not a problem. So you guys, I'm going to make this as easy. I don't want to be the one that mucks this thing up. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Cool. I'll put a list together then, Patty, and ship it over and we'll.
I will take care of it.
Okay, cool. Sounds great.
Yeah, we'll just pick this back up the next meeting.
Okay. It's my understanding that we're going to pull E, consider appointing a chair and vice chair, since by the resolution, this is going to be a trust counselor. Is that correct, Patty?
Yeah, if I can.
Sorry, that's correct.
Okay, sorry, I thought I lost everybody there.
Nope.
Okay, well, I think I'm done speaking. Again, it was an honor to meet everyone, and I'm excited about this task force. I think Norm and Melissa, Patty, we're going to talk about protocols.
Yeah, this group is subject to the Open Meetings Act, just like all city boards and committees. You cannot send group emails because you're conducting a meeting when you do that. So if you have an email, a question for Lauren, please just send it directly to Lauren. You can copy me or Norman or Melissa, but you cannot copy other task force members. Meetings are open or public record. I'll do the meetings, the meeting minutes. Those will be brought back to you for approval at each meeting. The agenda has to be posted 24 hours in advance of a meeting. So that's why we need to settle on a meeting schedule. If something comes up that you need to meet dates other than your regular meetings, then we can call a special meeting with a 48-hour notice. The agenda still has to be posted 24 hours in advance. So if you get an email from me or Lauren asking, can you be present at such and such time or whatever, please respond to those in a timely fashion. If you see you're not going to make one, Justin, I see you smile. If you see you're not going to make one of the meetings, please email me and let me know, because we have to have a quorum, and the quorum is 6. So if we don't have 6 members, we can't meet. And I'd hate to inconvenience others if just one person all of a sudden can't make it. So, Norman, anything else?
Are you going to do all the documentation on? Is there anybody that needs paper?
I'll put the agenda together before each meeting. I will send it and any supporting documents that go along with it to you via email. I will also get IT to set us up on the city's webpage so that all of that stuff will be posted on the webpage. And I'll send you the link, and you can, if you don't need paper or you don't want to bother printing it yourself, then you can just see it online on the webpage. And we'll kind of just play it by ear and see how it goes with you guys. Any questions?
Oh, sounds good.
Before we adjourn, I just want to point something out. And I emailed Lauren and Patty about this, but there was an error in the media release that went out last week. And I just want to make sure everybody is aware of it. It may come up later anyway. But the deadlines that were listed in the media release that went out last week and was in the news press on October 9th had deadlines in it for Stillwater to achieve 100 transition to 100% renewable energy. Those deadlines were in the draft resolution, but they didn't make it into the final resolution. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware. There are no deadlines in the final resolution that was adopted by the City Council in March.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Very much appreciate that. I received 2 of those, and unfortunately the draft was at the top, and I should have looked at the one that was signed. So it was, I realized that, and then that's where I did also find the March 31st deadline to have a plan. And that's what I've kind of staggered these meetings to be, to help us get there. So totally oversight on my part. I had read that so many times, I thought it was it. So I didn't actually see the final one that was signed. So.
I wish the deadlines were in there, but.
Yeah.
Also, after November 15th, the state law allowing Zoom meetings for boards, committees, city council expires. So after the 15th of November, all our meetings will need to be in person. I don't know if that presents, Christine, Justin, if that, Henri, all of you that work, I don't know if that presents any issues or not.
Here's a complicating factor that was actually in state statute. That the sunset of that was in state statute for that expiring November 15th. I guess nobody expected the pandemic to outlive November 15th. The unfortunate thing is the only people that can fix that is the legislature, and they do not take up business until February 1st. So the governor can't extend it. There's no emergency orders that can be issued to extend it. We've talked to everybody that we know to talk of trying to get that fixed. It's just is what it is.
So I guess they learned a lesson to set a expiration date when they're actually in session.
We'll see.
Okay.
Well, gee, I mean, honestly, I'm not sure I am interested in in-person meetings in November, given the state of coronavirus in our community.
Yeah, the same thing holds true for city council and many other boards that we have. So maybe that needs to be.
I wasn't aware of that.
And maybe that needs to be added to. Patty, we'll compose an email that says, "Are you comfortable coming to an in-person meeting?" We do those when we have to do them. We do them with at least 6 foot of spacing between people. So we'll compose something and include that with the proposed dates. And if there are enough people that aren't interested, we'll just have to wait to convene until the virus is gone. And it depends on who you listen to and how long that's going to be. I've heard everything from a year from now to 2 years from now.
So you can't have a meeting, even like, let's say, if you have just 1 or 2 people in person and everyone else remote, you can't do it that way?
No, sir. Cannot. They have to be present because of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, they have to be present in the room.
That is incredible. Yeah.
Well, you might talk to your legislator about it, but I think you're going to get the same answer I got.
Yeah.
You get to decide the room. It's just everybody has to be in the room, meaning there's not a nexus that all city business has to take place at that point. It's wherever that we feel is appropriate to space, and wherever we call the meeting becomes the location of the meeting. Is that right?
That's correct.
Cool.
And I would suggest, Madeline, you were on the recycling committee, that room where we met at the library, the basement room where you can spread out. It's set up classroom style. Robin, you're probably familiar with it. I think it's 119.
Yes,
that
it
would
is.
That would offer a lot of social distancing with this small of a group. So that's always an option.
If the weather's nice, we can always meet outdoors.
Yes.
But over the winter time, I bet you we can make it work somehow.
We all go over to Christine's house.
As you can tell, I always prefer outside. Everybody's welcome.
Don't you have a big barn, Christine?
Yeah.
Although that's outside the city limits, I think we can't do that.
No, I'm here in city limits, but this is my
Yeah.
Zen garden right here.
Okay.
Okay, if there's not any more questions, do we have to vote for adjournment or just adjourn?
There needs to be a motion to adjourn in a second, and then there's no discussion.
May I ask a question?
Oh, yep.
When is our next meeting? That's to be determined. We'll get an email on that. Is that what we decided?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I'll third.
All signify by saying aye.
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 All hearing any say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you all.